I was probably like annoying, and everyone was like, this girl's delusional. But I would make these posters, and I'd hang them up all over town, and I would hand out flyers at school. Yeah, maybe there was a little bit of just the impression I got of like, oh, it'd be great if you could like brush your hair and wear more makeup and put on like a cooler outfit. But then I think it ended up working out because my thing just kind of became like jeans and t-shirt and like what you see is what you get kind of vibes. Yeah. Well, I got dropped from my record deal after my second album came out, but I think I've done some major self-sabotaging from some like deep-seated sense of not feeling worthy for some reason, and so I gotta figure that out before I get too much over it.
Hi, this is Lauren Engel. Today I'm here with Lizzie.
Hi.
So you were born in Illinois?
Yeah, I was born in Rock Island, Illinois. It's across the Mississippi River from Iowa. It's like called the Quad Cities. So I was born and raised there.
And you had a really like outdoorsy childhood, right? Like swimming with your cousins.
Yeah, actually I did. My like summers were just spent like swimming, riding my bike, like running around, playing in the yard, making things out of like dirt and sand and sticks and yeah, lots of canoeing and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you describe yourself back then growing up?
Oh, kind of in a hurry to grow up, probably. A little bit, restless, like loud, probably kind of annoying. I don't know. Wanted a lot of attention.
Where do you get your creative side from? Because your dad's is a physician and your mom's interior design.
Yeah, my dad's a physician and my mom was, stayed at home with us and was also an art teacher and did interior design and sold office furniture and kind of did a lot of different things and is a good artist herself. So, and everyone in my family like can sing pretty well. My grandparents are all like, we're all sang in the church, or my grandfather was a barbershop quartet singer. Oh. Actually like an international champion.
Really?
Yeah.
They're gonna look it up.
Late 40s or something.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, so everyone in my family's kind of musical.
What kind of music were they playing in the house when you were growing up?
Not a ton of music. Like, I don't feel like we were a family that like always had music on, but when my parents and their like college friends would get together, they'd listen to the things that they liked to listen to in college, and like the Big Chill soundtrack or something, Motown. My dad loved the Beach Boys and, like any of the songs, like Creedence Clearwater Revival. I think songs that reminded them of their high school and college years is sort of like what they would put on if they put on music. Yeah.
What were your favorite subjects in high school?
I didn't really like high school.
Yeah, you kicked out.
Yeah. Ceramics, probably, my art class. I had a really, really cool ceramics teacher, Mr. Christensen, and I think he knew that like high school was like a little bit of a struggle for me, and really went out of his way to like make sure that I felt good about myself, I think. So probably ceramics, I'd say.
Yeah. But what made you want to go to college, like in Colorado?
So I'm the youngest of 4, and all of my siblings are really smart and went to like really good schools. And so I think education and like hard work were important things in my family. So it was expected that I would go to college. And so like, because my parents like believed in me and supported me, but they thought I should have an education and pursue music. So Colorado State was really like, I was an okay student, but I didn't apply myself really like my siblings had. So I like went to Colorado State because I knew that I could get in, and that like I like to ski and like live music, and so I felt like I'd like it culturally, like that there would be a lot of things for me to do there, and I did like it, and it's beautiful in the mountains, and out, I'm outdoorsy and like to camp and swim in the rivers and stuff. Yeah. So
what did you study again?
Well, I went for journalism, but then I couldn't really, it's a big school, so I couldn't actually get into like the like prerequisites that I needed a lot of the time. So I just kind of took a little bit of everything, like anthropology, and actually took an aerobics class, which I like never went to. Yeah.
Oh, you never
But I dropped out of college actually after 2 years. So I, by then though, my parents, I think I already had like some opportunities with my music that sort of I was making a little bit of money, not much, but I think they were like, okay, like, you know, give LA a year or two and see what happens, and I ended up being able to like make it work.
Yeah.
So
before you were, because you were in bands, right? Before. For bands.
Opening for bands.
Yeah,
I was like
bands.
solo for quite a long time. Like I'd sing with other people, but I just played guitar and sang alone, and then opened for lots of people in Colorado and sang on this DJ's track that ended up getting on like a bunch of TV shows. And,
and Grammy.
Yeah, well, that was a different one.
That was a different
one.
that was
that was later. So this is when I was like, 19 or 20, like had a song that was in a few TV shows and a movie, and I made like a decent amount of money off of it. And
how did you get your music out there initially, like before you had a team?
When I was in college, like I like took my shows like really seriously. Again, I was probably like annoying, and everyone was like, this girl's delusional. But I would make these posters, and I'd hang them up all over town, and I would hand out flyers at school, and like was able to get like a fair amount of people to come out and see me, and I really would like go around to the venues and like kind of petition to open for bands that came through, and got to open for some cool bands. And so I think I just have always been playing a lot. I was always playing. I was always doing shows. So I think probably putting myself out there and getting in front of people.
And you already had original music out, like were you putting it on like YouTube or?
I don't think there was even YouTube. I'm 35, so I'm trying to remember.
Before
like
MySpace.
There was internet, but oh, look at that dog up there. Oh, that looks dangerous, but he's so cute. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I got distracted. Oh my goodness, he is so cute. There's a lot of dog poop around here though.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember if there was YouTube, but I did like make a CD. Like there was someone in town that had like there's a lot of dog action. Yeah. Someone in town, so I'm getting distracted. Someone in town who like I could record I could record like some songs I'd written like in his garage. And then there was like someone in Denver, which was like an hour from Fort Collins, who had like, a CD burner that could, burn and label CDs. So like I paid to get that done. So I actually did have a CD when I was like 18.
Oh.
Which one of these days I should release.
Yeah.
Release to the world. It's kind of embarrassing though.
And then how are you able to find management early on?
I moved to LA when I was 21, and I like had a couple of people sort of like discover me and sort of initially try and like connect me with different people, and those opportunities didn't really end up working out, but I did then. Oh my gosh, look at this dog.
So many dogs.
There's so many just dogs everywhere. You're cute too. You're cute too. What are you doing? I had like some opportunities and early on, and then I ended up being signed to Maverick Records through like this production deal that I'd done, which then I didn't end up like kind of staying with, because it's like kind of was me like signing away all of my rights. Not exactly. I don't know. It's not worth really going into. But eventually, through all these different scenarios, I met my manager, Peter, in like 2004, 2005. And have been with him ever since. And he took me over to the UK, and I got a deal with Sony Columbia in London. And so a lot of things for me kind of started happening once I teamed up with Sony and made my first album.
Yeah. Did you feel like, looking back, you wish you waited and had more like original material? And like was able to find exactly, or did you already know at that point like exactly your vision?
No, not really. I don't know. I think everything kind of works out how it's supposed to. But I think if I was an artist that like my look and my style were like a big part of my overall artistry, then maybe. But I think that's like, I'm just kind of more of like, I feel like I'm prolific. I just like write songs, put them out, write songs, put them out, write songs, put them out, and have, worked with lots of different musicians and producers. So like stylistically or vision-wise, it's always changing and kind of natural and spontaneous. So I don't really have a vision.
Did you ever feel like when you were with them that you had to fit some sort of like mold that they wanted? Like, was it more pop, or maybe they didn't really?
Well, I think that early on, I worked with a lot of people who were well-intentioned, and I probably brought it on myself to a certain extent, because I just felt like people didn't think that I knew what was best for me or didn't take me seriously, you know, whether it's because I was a girl or I was young or I just seemed kind of like a deer in headlights, and coming from the Midwest and a relatively small city and moving to the big city. There were times where, like, yes, so if I could do it all again, like, I would have just said, like, no, this is what I want to do, and believed in myself more, but I think that's a part of growing up, so I don't think you can really change that. But there were times that people, you know, with my first deal, I think they would have wished that I could have, could have wished that I would have dialed in my look a little more, because this is kind of just what I've always looked like, just, not like I look like a slob, but I just don't have like a cool style or something. I'm not really sure. Like, I just have a simple, maybe there was a little bit of just the impression I got of like, oh, it'd be great if you could like brush your hair and wear more makeup and put on like a cooler outfit. But then I think it ended up working out because my thing just kind of became like jeans and t-shirt and like what you see is what you get kind of vibes.
Yeah. And then did you like living in Hollywood? But not really, right? It was difficult.
I have so many people that I love that live in LA, so, you know, and you live here, so I never want to like criticize a city. It's not for me. There's too many people and there's too much pollution and there's like not enough water and I don't know. The time I was here, I did have a lot of fun and I had a lot of really intense and sometimes painful experiences like in my early 20s. I think everyone does, no matter where they live. So I do kind of, I think, maybe somewhat associate Hollywood with like some bad experiences, but also with like a lot of like probably the most fun I'll ever have in my life. Like, I was having a blast. I met a lot of really awesome people. I was part of like a community of people, and then it was a really special time in my life. So at the time I enjoyed it for what it was, but I knew after like a few years it was like I'm gonna have to find some sort of more calm and natural space to live in. And then I ended up moving to Ojai for 7 years, so that was good. I was like an hour and a half from LA, but still out kind of what felt like in the country a little bit.
Do you think your style of music that you made has changed every time you move into these different places?
I think for sure the style of my music changes based on, you know, what I'm going through in my life, because I'm a very true to my circumstance writer. Like, all my songs are real. They're about what I'm going through when I make the records. And so I think that the songs I'm writing and the moods I'm in kind of call for a different energy from project to project. I think a lot of it too, like, yes, the different places I've lived, but also the different people I'm working with. You know, again, what I'm going through in my personal life, like as technology's changed, you know, like this last record, I was a little more open-minded about working sort of remotely, where like, you know, would start working on a laptop and then have a producer take it back to a studio and put real instruments on it, and then I'd like email them my background vocals, you know, from my studio. And so I think technology and culture affects the changes, but also, yes, where I live.
And what was the turning point that you wanted to leave that and then go to Iowa or?
Iowa, yeah. Well, I got dropped from my record deal after my second album came out. So in 2015, I was like independent, but I still, you know, I was fortunate that I had a deal all those years I did, because I worked with a lot of wonderful people and I had a lot of support and tour support. So I was able to go and tour, you know, I wouldn't have been able to afford that on my own. So I was able to build up a good fan base. So when I was, you know, once I became independent, I was lucky. I had like a leg up because I already kind of had some things going on. And I just kind of wasn't having fun. Like, I felt like after my second record, I just needed a break. Like, I don't want to make a record that, like, I have other people, whoever I end up working with, to come to me and say, like, I think you need to write more songs and these songs aren't very good. Because I'd had that experience of, like, writing a bunch of songs I liked and then not being able to record them because all the different people who, you know, rightfully so, were giving me money, just didn't think the songs had any potential. And that just sort of wore me down a little. So I was just like, I'm good. Like, I'm just going to chill and I'm just going to, like, make my own record and I might never put it out. And I'm going to, like, move back to the Midwest and be closer to my family and solo tour for a while and simplify my life. And I've always wanted to have this farm in Iowa, so I bought, like, almost 50 acres in Iowa, and it's been really good. I still am always on tour, and I did end up putting the My Wild West out, my last record, so I didn't really quit the business. I just sort of simplified my life for a while.
Yeah.
Which was good.
Is it ever difficult working so remotely from the rest of music and I guess producers?
Not really, because I travel a lot. I mean, there's so much you can really communicate through phone and email, and I will hop on a plane and go to London for 2 weeks and write and record, and then I'll go home for a few weeks. And I think it's good for me because I do kind of miss, I don't really have a community of artists that I hang out with like I did when I lived in LA, but I kind of like that because, my general group of friends do all kinds of jobs. There might be teachers or nurses or doctors or, work at a restaurant. I don't know. It's kind of been nice in a way to be removed from it because it's good just to be back in the mix with just the general population or something.
What was the inspiration behind Castles?
Castles. So my hair's kind of crazy. I had stayed at my friend's house, and that Dr. Bronner's soap.
No.
You don't know Dr. Bronner's? It's this it's good for the earth, and it's this soap, and you apparently can use it for everything. Mm-hmm. But they didn't have any shampoo, so I had to wash my hair with it, and now it's like putting wax in your hair or something. I don't know. Anyway. So Castles, to be very honest with you, I was in this sort of pseudo relationship with a guy who, probably didn't mean to, but kind of destroyed me, and I let it happen. And so I think a lot of Castles was figuring out, why do I let this happen, and, what role do I play in it? And, different from maybe my first album, Catching a Tiger, it's that one was about a breakup too, but this one's from the perspective of me 10 years later. So I think there's a little bit more self-awareness and humor and not cynicism, because I think there's a lot of hope in it, but it's, it goes dark. It goes into that pain and that rejection and shame of things that we do to screw up our relationships. But also taking that but that's you have to kind of go through this to learn from those experiences, learn from your mistakes, have some self-awareness, have a sense of humor about the things that would have destroyed you 10 years ago. Now you can, with age, you do start to brush things off a little more. You're oh, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let that bother me. So yeah, Castles is just really about kind of getting through and over a kind of challenging romantic relationship, but not just about this guy, but about what do I want in life, and what's next, and what do I need to fix about myself? Holding a mirror up to myself of what are the things that I do that contribute to this drama in my life? Yeah. It can't just be the other person's fault. So trying to really dive a little bit deeper into things, which can be uncomfortable, but ultimately is important.
Yeah. How do you think your music has changed since the early songs you wrote?
I don't know. That's hard to say. I mean, I think I probably was a little bit more naive when I was younger, and so there was probably a sweeter quality to my music at times because, I had my whole life ahead of me, and I think I also wrote with a lot more other people, so maybe my own voice was, of course, very much in my early music, but it was maybe a little bit more influenced by other people who I was working with, and other people's opinions, whereas now both the phase I'm at in my life and just the kind of, I'm independent essentially. I'm my own kind of creative director and A&R and everything. So I think it's more, I don't even know if the fans are going to appreciate it. It's a little self-indulgent, but now it's sort of I can say and sing whatever I feel like saying and singing. If I want to talk about being sad, I know it's going to bum everybody out, but I need to, because that's how I get over it. That's how I process and move on. So I guess maybe my music will probably just get more personal because I don't really have anyone censoring me, which might be a bad thing.
How would you say you've grown as a person since you were younger?
I think I've become a lot less selfish since I was younger. I think I was really, I'm still quite self-absorbed, really self-involved and whatever, but I think that I was like really just sort of so wrapped up in myself for a really long time, and because I'm very emotional. I've always been really emotional, really impulsive. So I think as I've gotten older, I've become a much more thoughtful and less selfish and mellower person, I'd say.
What would you say have been your biggest challenges so far?
My nose is running. I think I have somewhat of an addictive personality. I sometimes have unhealthy coping mechanisms. I have some impulse control issues. Sometimes I can say things I really don't mean in the heat of the moment, but I think that's gotten better. But I'm also a Scorpio, so. But I think one of my challenges, it's something I'm trying to figure out now, is that I've always sort of just thought of myself as like an underdog. And I think there's been times where I could have had good things in my life that I've sort of sabotaged because I don't, it's like I don't know why I've done that. This is like therapy. like I have sometimes this paranoid feeling like everybody hates me and everyone thinks you're weird, and maybe everyone does hate me and think I'm weird, but a lot of the times it's all in your head, and I think a lot of people go through that, is that you experience life in this one way that is so colored with like these stories you're telling yourself, and it's like not true. You just try to chill and have a good time and just be nice to yourself and nice to others. It's like things would work out better, but I think I've done some major self-sabotaging from some like deep-seated sense of not feeling worthy for some reason, and so I gotta figure that out before I get too much older. Because it's time. It's getting old.
What does love mean to you?
Oh, that kind of ties into castles, because I think a lot of castles is that I think for a long time I had this notion of this fairy tale romance of like what romance was supposed to be, and like not being able to live without somebody, and the passion and all of those things that sort of end up just like kind of consuming you and not being like really sustainable. So I think I'm sort of trying to relearn what love means, like, kindness and partnership and laughter and support and, shared visions and shared dreams. But love in general, I have so much love in my life with my friends and my family and whatnot. I think it's, life is a lonely, scary thing, just like being there for people.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Last question. What do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered for, I saw this great quote a couple of years ago, it's like being someone that makes people feel when like they're in your company that as they are, that they're good enough, like making people feel good. I don't really ever want anyone to say that they walked away from an exchange with me feeling like bad about themselves, which I'm sure it's happened mostly to the mean boys that I've dated. But no, I think just wanting to be someone that made people feel good about themselves.
Yeah, I love that. This was awesome.
Yeah, good.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I'm enjoying this. So thanks for having me.
Bye, guys.
Bye.